Hey guys, I'm back with another stamp design video, and this time we're going to talk about something that I'm really excited about. Not only did I get to design a stamp that I think is pretty cool, but this time, instead of just handing the stamp off to a manufacturer, I got to work with Jake Hunter. How you doing, Jake?
Hey, how's it going, Marm?
Not too bad. I'm excited to have you on because I've really, really been looking forward to this project, because usually I just hand my files off to MVP, Innova, whoever I'm working with, and then they come back and they always look great, but I don't always get to have as much nerdy control as I as I like to have. And when I work with you, you really have the luxury of not having so much of a deadline. You don't have to rush to get this stamp job done so that you can get the next one done so that you can get the next one done. There's a never-ending queue of tournament stamps and stuff like that just piling up behind you. You really have the luxury of hot stamping in your house on your own time and really pouring yourself into it. So how did you get into hot stamping?
Yeah, my dad worked in the hot stamping industry building these machines. I was able to kind of grow up around them. Never thought to use them for disc golf because I didn't start playing until about maybe 4.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
When I started playing, played for a few months and then realized that these things were hot stamped and walked over to the machines up front in the shop, because we build machines in the back, and then we do custom stamping, mostly on leather goods and stuff. Took a disc up there, went out of my bag and just slapped a smiley face on it. It was kind of an aha moment.
That's awesome. Do you still have that disc?
That disc, I don't have it, but a close friend has it, and he has it stored away, because I tried to pay for $100, and he's like, "You're an idiot. You need to save this." So
Right. That's a museum piece, man. The first one ever. That's awesome. Okay, so one of the reasons that I was really excited about working with Jake here is because he really has, like I said before, the luxury to slow down and take his time and really pour himself into the project. And dude, I'm seeing some of the things you're pumping out, and the love and attention that you put into each project is just phenomenal. Can you tell me a little bit about your workflow and the kind of things you like to do?
I guess just starting with workflow, I've definitely scaled back a lot. I don't want to get into too much as far as what my family life is. I'm sure a lot of people know. The thing that we have to deal with, that added, I guess, stress, has made me have to adjust my workload so that I can manage it and still spend time with my family and stuff. Whenever my wife got sick, it was just kind of, it took me a little longer, I think, to realize, just because I'm a dude and I'm hard-headed.
What?
And, so it took me a little longer to realize, but I got to put family first. You only have so much time with your loved ones, no matter who you are. There's always, an end, and you need to soak up as much good time and good memories as you can.
Right. Absolutely agree with that.
But yeah, so as far as projects go, at this point now, I've been able to kind of get to a point where I can pick and choose projects that I want to do. And when I saw yours, I've been wanting to work with you for a while, because you've got some really good artwork. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff that MVP for sure, man. Like, you've got too many designs to even start naming. Some of the larger stamps you've done for Innova, those dual stamps, things are wicked. And then looking at them from a stamper's perspective, I can tell you this about your stamps: you do a really good job of balancing the pressure distribution. So like when you press a stamp, if you have a bunch of thin lines on one side, a bunch of thick lines on the other, it's really hard to level it out, because you really need more pressure for that thick side than you do for that thin side. And you do a really good job of, which is something that only a few artists out there are really doing. You do a good job kind of thinking ahead of like how this is going to stamp. Yeah. How is this over to a die?
Thanks. I mean, I love negative space, but if you have a bunch of negative space and then thin lines right next to it, it's hard to stamp. And that's one of the reasons I was excited about having you on here, is because I don't think people understand how much of a skill hot stamping is. Like, I get the impression that people think it's either machine done or that anybody can do it. You just stick a die in, put some foil down, and then you got a stamp. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely quite a bit. When you boil it down, once you have someone show you, I think it is it is kind of, and maybe I'm just simplifying it because I feel like I've done a billion point, uh, but it really is just pull down, press, and the image goes on. But the thing about stamping discs is it's such a fickle medium. It's probably one of the hardest things to stamp.
Oh, really?
I stamp all kinds of stuff, man. I've stamped leather, paper,
I saw canvas shoes.
yeah, some canvas, and just all kinds of stuff, man. Plastics, but flat plastic. And the thing about discs is there's all kinds of variations as far as some flight plates have different thicknesses in them, and thickness variation that runs from rim to center. So,
Right.
you might have a disc that's a thicker plastic closer to the rim, and then it might thin out and back up right towards the nipple, um, and then obviously the nipple itself, and then there's pressure that you have to worry about. There's catching air bubbles.
There's a
So
lot of stuff you have to stay on top of.
I guess it is, yeah. It becomes, when you're hot stamping, man, it just kind of becomes just something you have to deal with, all those little issues that arise. That's just a part of hot stamping. So I think I kind of ignore kind of how hard those things are sometimes, because it's just like I have, regardless of what, it's like, yeah, I got to get it done.
Right. So another reason we were excited to work with you, I say we because this was released through Don Freeman's DFX. And so Don and I were talking about doing this awesome job where we could get around some of the things that MVP probably could do if they wanted to spend the time, but because they're on a production schedule, they don't want to spend the time to do it. Like stamping right on the center sprue, stamping way out, like a larger stamp diameter than 14 centimeters, stamping on the front, stamping on the back, registering from, like all kinds of stuff like that. We got really excited because we thought, here are all the things that we know Jake can do because he has the time to do it. I mentioned a couple. What were some of the things that you found most interesting about the job?
First off, the artwork was really cool. I found the artwork really interesting, which always makes me kind of excited about a job. The skull, the flames, or as I kind of pictured it, almost like some sort of evil plasma energy, like shooting off of the basket. Kind of this skull has appeared or grown off this basket, and this some sort of energy shooting off of it. That's my nerd showing a little bit.
This isn't going to show up real well on this camera, but this was one of the things I mentioned right here. You can't stamp. You have to leave a 1 centimeter diameter circle open that's right on top of that sprue there, centered on the disc. But I'm looking at this, and when people get this in their hands, you can look for yourself. And I mean, that is pretty perfectly resolved there. Like I don't see any defects. So like I said, it's not something that MVP can't do. It's just that the way their production line is set up, they're not going to take the time to do it. And so like that's one example of why we want to use Jake. And then of course, another one is, well, this isn't the best example, was the back stamp. So we've got the flat black foil on the front, and then the white foil on the back. And this might not show up real well, but this is really impressive, Jake. How you got, I mean, you are almost touching the rim. You can't get that back stamp any wider. Was that a challenge for you?
It was definitely a little bit of a challenge. I got to give a shout out to my die guy. And they got them really close. I had to go back and do a little bit of sanding just to get it to match the curve. It was a challenge. It was something I kind of looked forward to because I don't get to do that very often. And when this project was kind of brought up, and we kind of talked about trying to kind of get it out towards the edge and matching that curve, it really got me excited because I haven't got to do a project like this yet. So yeah, I wanted to do it. It looked fun.
Well, we're glad you did. I just showed 2 discs, and you know that I didn't show the 3rd one yet, right? Because there's a lot of fun stuff on that one. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I saved this one for last because you did a couple really special things on this. What can you tell me about some of the things you did on this disc?
Okay, so that disc is going to have a couple things that some of the more rare discs throughout the series will have. I did several offsets on that, on both flames. I put a sparkle hollow silver down first, and then I offset a white over it. And I brought the white coming in on both sides towards the center. I wanted to do that because I wanted the accent to match on both sides. I didn't want to shift it. I wanted everything to still appear to be in register and be in register as close as possible.
Right.
And
so
then the
looking for that little kind of perimeter kind of kick to help it separate off the background.
Yeah. I wanted that. I still wanted a flat color on top, so you could get a definition to what the design was. You could see the flames good, and it wasn't just a bunch of sparkle. But I wanted that sparkle behind it to catch your eye and draw it towards that. Makes you want to look at it. I don't know.
And it definitely does. It definitely. I mean, it's gorgeous. I don't know that I'm going to do it justice in this video, so I'm just going to say, if you're ordering something like this with the offset, it looks fantastic. So you already covered the flames, but you also did some fun stuff on the skull as well.
So with the skull, we also did an offset underneath the skull. I did a pattern foil on top, a crackle, and sometimes that has a tendency of breaking up the design, of making it difficult to make out what was drawn. So I put a hollow offset behind it to kind of make the design pop out. Over that, we did a crackle foil, which is a combination of 2 foils. It creates a really cool effect, especially when you use a hollow foil underneath a flat foil. I like how the hollow foil kind of, I don't know, it just kind of pops through all the little cracks in the flat top finish.
And just in case anybody missed that, something that you said but didn't really dwell on, that crackle foil is not something you buy from a vendor. That is something you are doing, a proprietary part of your process that you're doing to that foil to make it crackle and reveal the pink layer underneath the yellow foils. And that's just really, really cool, in my opinion. Like,
yeah.
This is why I wanted to use Jake right here.
Thanks, man. I was calling it the HH crackle for a while. I showed it to my boss, who's been stamping for like 60 plus years, and he was kind of dumbfounded. He was like, "What are you doing?" That's another benefit of being able to sit in your room into the deep hours of the night and just create with some music going and just figure stuff out.
And I think that's really key, regardless of what your arena is that you like to be creative in, whether you're playing music, whether you're hot stamping, whether you're drawing, I mean, cooking, whatever, like, play with stuff, experiment, don't be afraid to fail, right? That's how you learn little tips and tricks like, well, I did this in this situation and it didn't work. It was terrible. But if I just tweak that, I can use it over here and make something really, really cool.
I can definitely tell you kind of how I figured it out. When I first started out, I had an issue with kind of figuring out pressure. It took a lot of testing. So I started trying to figure out a way to be creative, to do something that looked cool. The crackling effect basically creates air channels in the foil to release air. So any area that you were catching an air pocket in before, you won't be catching an air pocket in anymore.
Just you describing that gives me an idea for a stamp design. I hope this isn't the last time we work with you, because I mean, just talking to you, I've already had a ton of ideas.
Oh, definitely not, man. Y'all really let me kind of run with this project, and I really appreciate that.
As an artist myself, I really like it when people say, this is what you do. This is what you're good at. Do what you're good at. As opposed to the type of client that stands over your shoulder and is like, do this, move this here, make it that color, make it bigger, make it smaller. Like, look. Like, if you want to do this, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was nice to hand it off to you, say, I trust you because we've seen what you do. I mean, it's amazing. So there was no stress on our part to just say, here it is, have fun. What do you have in the pipeline coming up soon? Do you have new projects, other fun stuff?
I definitely have some Hunter Hotstamp stuff that I want to get going. I've got that trifoil design and that mini stamp that I'm gonna kind of try to get out on a few brands. And yeah, I've got some other big stuff that I can't really talk too much about, but I'm excited for that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so I'm just yeah, but keep an eye out for some Hunter Hotstamp stuff and for some big announcements.
What's the best place for people to find you? Facebook, Instagram?
So Facebook, my Facebook group is probably the best place to find me. Pretty much stuck to one platform.
Speaking for me and speaking for Don Freeman, we've enjoyed watching all the past work you've done, and we can't wait to see more of your future work. And we definitely hope to be a part of your future work.
Well, y'all definitely will be, and I definitely look forward to working with y'all in the future, and yeah, just doing some cool things.
Well, we're looking forward to that too. I guess I guess that's about all we have to talk about for this video. I definitely want to thank you, Jake, for showing up and explaining a lot of this to us, because a lot of people don't know how hot stamping works. So thanks for doing that, and hope to see all of you again for my next video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Marm.